Hello there, welcome to Bush Channel. One of our subscribers recently asked the question, are machetes now illegal in Australia? Well, as of this coming Monday, the 1st of September, the government is changing the laws, meaning that all the machetes you're looking at here from Bush Channel will be deemed to be prohibited weapons. So currently, machetes come under the class of controlled weapons, which means you're allowed to have a machete if you have a lawful excuse to be using it. And camping has always been a lawful excuse, but as of the 1st of September, this Monday, that changes. And we will be handing our machetes into the local police station. They've built these metal bins, and we'll be doing another video where you'll be able to see us disposing of all these machetes. So what is the definition of a machete in Victorian law? My understanding is a machete is a long blade with a single edge and no hilt. So a machete should not have a double edge, and it should never have a hilt. So a hilt is like a guard on the end, on the top of your handle there, which protects your hand from the other guy, right? So in the old sword swashbuckling movies, you'd see two guys swinging around their swords, and they'd have a hilt to protect their hand. Well, a machete is a wood cutting tool, so it doesn't need a hilt. It should never be double-edged. All these blades are single-edged. People often ask, how did you get these machetes into Australia? Well, that's because they're single-edged blades. So one question they always ask you when you're going through the airport, if you do declare machetes, are they double-edged? If they're double-edged, they are totally illegal in Australia. They always have been for many, many decades, right? So double-edged blades are more for stabbing, and they are purely weapons. Right? So a single-edged blade, if you were to stab this into meat or into a person, don't ever do that. But if you did, the blade can actually get stuck. Whereas a double-edged blade is designed to thrust inwards and pull outwards, quickly or rapidly. So machetes, that's why we've always been allowed to have them, but the rules are changing, as I said. The other purpose of today's video is just a farewell to the machete collection. I wanted to have them all laid out so we could see which ones we're handing in, and basically make a final farewell to them, because what you're looking at here is basically Australia's most famous machete collection. Some of these machetes have featured in videos that had over 1 million views. This one in particular, from Lombok Island, Indonesia, 5 million views of the blacksmiths making it. Alright, so let's start from the left, and we'll work from my left, that is. On the left here I've got the Malaysian parangs, 1, 2, 3, from Bedor, Malaysia. I encourage you to watch our video on that subject. Video making is something we will continue in our travels. If we come across blacksmiths that we want to film, we will be making more videos. We just won't be bringing any more machetes back to Australia. There's the second parang. Parang being the Malaysian word for machete. Third parang with my modification on it. I put a rubber handle on it with a sheath I had it made in Australia. Moving on to the Thai machetes we had made. This is a survival knife. I believe the new rule means any blades over 20 centimeters are meant to be handed in, so I'll probably be double checking that before handing this one in. That's just over 20 centimeters. Another machete from Thailand, very popular video. I highly recommend watching this video of the blacksmith making this in Thailand. Great trail clearing machete, even has that swooshing sound. When you swing a really good trail clearing machete, it should actually make a swooshing sound, like a piece of bamboo cutting the air. Very lightweight, probably only 400 grams. Great for trail clearing. This is another Thai machete from our video, how blacksmiths make machetes quenched in oil. I highly recommend that video as well. Give it a look. Now moving on to the Philippine-made machetes. One of my favourites, the big sugarcane machete. Under the new laws here in Australia, there are some exemptions. For example, farmers who have agricultural jobs they need to do. For example, if they had a sugarcane farm, a sugarcane machete might be, they might be exempt from the new rules. Exemptions are automatically applied, by the way. I have read the rules on this, but there is a clause in the exemption which says that if you could perform that job with a tool other than a machete, then you should be using that other tool, which basically kind of means that no one in agriculture really needs a machete, because you could always use an axe or a tractor or a whippersnipper or a chainsaw. It's the sugarcane machete, 1.5 kilos, two-handed, very dangerous, right? Very, very dangerous. And another reason to definitely be hanging that in. Here in Australia, we have had an issue with violent knife crime and youth gangs fighting each other in shopping centres. Just imagine if that was in their hands, right? So that's a big reason why I want to hand these in. There always has been a bit of a fear of what if these machetes could fall into the hands of someone who wanted to use them for bad intentions, right? So that's a bit of a problem. Another machete, this one was made in Cumberland Island, Philippines, very heavy log splitting machete. Another machete from Philippines. I bought that in a market, actually, that one, for only about 150 pesos. Cebu Island, Philippines. Our video about full tang machetes. 3 pins in the handle. Probably my favourite of all. This is the trail clearing machete we got from Romblon Island in Philippines. Weight is about 600 grams. Perfect trail clearing tool. You'll see quite a few videos of us in the Muntalingahan National Park in Palawan, Philippines, where you'll be able to see trekkers, our jungle guides, actually clearing jungle with this machete as they're carrying equipment as well, like multiple backpacks at once, wearing nothing but flip-flops, cutting their way through the track, clearing the trail for us. Another well-known machete on our channel, this is the caribou horn machete that I had made. So when we make our videos, usually we'll buy a machete off the blacksmith for numerous reasons to add to our collection. Also, just out of politeness to the blacksmith, right? We're not just there to make a video, we're there to admire their work. This machete has a handle made from buffalo horn, right? Caribou horn. So for all the vegans out there, all the animal activists, they're not just slaughtering the buffalo for the purpose of the horn, right? They eat the whole buffalo. Not a single piece of the buffalo is wasted, even the horn, right? Using the pieces of the horn to make that machete there. Another Philippine machete from our video, how blacksmiths make machetes with rubber tire handles. Fantastic piece. Another nice little trail clearer. I never actually got a chance to test that one actually. Philippines again, another machete from a Philippine market. And my favourite log splitting machete, made in Batangas, Philippines. Right, that's on the main island of Philippines. Very heavy. 3 pins, full tang. This is the machete you'll see in some of my old Bush Channel videos where I'm splitting logs. Incredibly dangerous, right? In the wrong hands. Unlike cheap Chinese factory stamped crap like this one here, right? This is just a cheap piece of Chinese. These are the sort of machetes that most of these kids are wielding in shopping centres, right? They're not anywhere near dangerous as something with proper weight in it and a proper grind. So in China, what they'll do is they'll take a piece of steel that's about 3 or 4 mil thick, a big sheet of it that is, and they'll cut out a shape of a machete. They'll whack a serrated edge on the back, sharpen up the other side, and put a plastic handle on it and call it a machete, right? This is more likely to just sort of bounce off bone if someone was hit with it. Whereas a properly weighted chopping tool like this one here could literally take off someone's head with one stroke. I'm not kidding you. So absolutely, this is being handed into the police, right? If we're in America, we could keep these machetes. I often find it funny how Americans have difficulty understanding the fact that here in Australia we don't have the right to bear arms. So I mentioned before that previously you could have a machete if you had a lawful excuse. Well, plain and simply, self-defense is never a lawful excuse, right? So if the police pulled you up in the past and said to you, why do you have a machete? And you said, oh, I'm scared of my neighbours, I want to protect myself. That is illegal in Australia. You are not allowed to have weapons, right? Only if there's a legit purpose other than it being a weapon. So, moving on to the right here, made in Vietnam, right? This is a farming tool. It's got that little hook on it, sharpened on one side as always for clearing grass. My second machete made in Vietnam, just near Phong Nha Kabang National Park. Fantastic, two-handed. Look at that. Imagine the swing you'd get on that. Look at that. We've got a few, at the end of our blacksmith video for this one, we have a short clip of us testing this on some bush. Again, Vietnam. Probably the most impressive machete we have in terms of the look of the thing. I'll get a bit of a close-up after this so you can see. It's called a zagac, right? So it's a traditional Vietnamese farming tool, or slash, supposedly they used to chase off tigers with these things back in the old days, right? Look at the point on the end of that tip bit there. That's a point, right? Imagine the swinging force you'd get, right? Definitely hang this in. We don't want this falling into the hands of some of these street gangs that are roaming the streets, right? Look at that piece of bamboo though, right? That's actually the root of the bamboo tree. And to let you know, I might actually have to cut this machete in half just so it fits into the police bin. The plan is that once we get there, if it won't fit in the bin, we'll have to go in the police station and just tell them, look guys, come and fetch this machete. Right. So I've shown you the Vietnamese machetes. Finally moving on to Indonesia. I have Indonesian machetes. This is mainly for ornamental purposes. I do have a video on my channel, on Bush channel, how blacksmiths make machetes with snake handles, I think the video is called. So that's the blacksmith, very neatly, very talented, carved out a snake's head on the end of that blade. All trial clearing machete, Indonesia. Lombok Island, Indonesia. I mentioned this one before. 5 million views, man. Probably our best video. The blacksmiths in this video are quite remarkable with very large sledgehammers that they use, like 3 guys at once forging this thing. Blacksmith even carved his name into it, Karam. Indonesia again. Finally, the Indonesian machete from a town near Yogyakarta in Indonesia, with a big tiger carved wood handle. Lots of intricate carving on the handle of that one. We've got, I think, at least 2 different videos about this one, which I'd invite you to watch. That's the whole machete collection. Finally, I would like to encourage people to don't bother hoarding your machetes, right? We scratched our heads and tried to think of some excuses as to why we could be exempt and why we should be allowed to keep these things. But the reality is that we're not going to be using them anymore. I'm going camping and I need a machete is no longer an excuse in Victoria to have a machete. Right, so that's illegal. You're not allowed to have a long blade or machete when you're out bush camping. We'll just have to use something else like a saw or an axe. So if you have got a machete and you're living in Victoria, please hand it in. Just abide by the rules. Don't complain about the government and their reasons for bringing in these new rules. Of course, their excuse is that there are youth gangs roaming our shopping centres, fighting each other, doing armed robberies, etc., etc. I'm not going to get political here. But just to let you know, stay tuned, because the next step is the march up to the police station. We're going to have all this boxed up, right? It's going to be all safely boxed up. Christina's going to be there as well, and we're going to be handing in these machetes one by one into that bin. I'm going to be really interested to see if these big two-handed Duvalakis actually fit, man. Are they actually going to fit in the bin? So it's a pretty small opening to that bin. Obviously designed for a traditional sort of, what's that, 16-inch machete. Thanks for watching Bush Channel. Stay tuned, we will have more blacksmith videos in future. Hopefully.